Hello, good afternoon. I'd like to thank you for being with us today. I'd like to thank each and every one of you for taking time to join with us. This is we're in Pharr, Texas. This is our SLC visioning session here in the Rio Grande Valley. And some of the folks you'll meet today are, like myself, members of the Statewide Leadership Coalition, Texas Criminal Justice Coalition as well. Folks like Maggie Luna, who is a Peer Policy Fellow with Texas Criminal Justice Coalition, and is also coordinator of a statewide leadership council. Also, Doug Smith, who happens to be a senior policy advisor, I believe, and a number of others like our presenters and some of our guests who have joined us today, like Ofelia de los Santos, who works for Jail Ministries, and Mr. Dr. Villarreal, who has worked in the past extensively with formerly incarcerated as well. The Statewide Leadership Council, over the last year that I've been with them, I've been fortunate to see them at the state capitol, pushing for reform, criminal justice reform in particular, and our undying commitment to end mass incarceration and to provide opportunities for those who were formerly incarcerated. Supporting bills such as parole reform, specific to parole reform, new wings legislation tied together with the Clean Slate initiatives nationwide here in Texas. The Statewide Leadership Council has been behind that as well. I myself, my story with the Statewide Leadership Council is very new. Last year is when I joined along with them. Apparently it's 2 years now that the Statewide Leadership Council has been up and running. And I myself, my story with them is 1 year past. Thank you for joining with us today on your Saturday, this Saturday. Thank you for sharing with us, and we encourage you to add any particular kind of comments you may want to the page itself, to the Facebook, the chat. Questions you might have, by all means, share them with us. And we hope you enjoy what we shared. Our intentions here are clear. We wish to open a line of communication with those individuals who are formerly incarcerated, with the intention of trying to reach out to those here in the Rio Grande Valley, knowing full well that where our heart rests, we wish to extend that understanding to you and everyone here with us and everyone else associated with us as well. That we are here to let those individuals who are formerly incarcerated know that they're not alone, that we stand here with them. And here in the Rio Grande Valley, we likewise would like to also share that with the public as well. That you are not alone. You've been formerly incarcerated, or family members who are formerly incarcerated, or you yourself find yourself under this the weight of the criminal legal system. Then no, you're not alone. So yes, thank you for sharing. My name is Mark Anthony Vasquez, and I'm also a member of the Statewide Leadership Council. And again, I thank you for reaching out with us today. I would like to introduce Ms. Maggie Luna, who is our coordinator with the Statewide Leadership Council.
Hello, thank you so much for being here today. I am Maggie Luna with the Statewide Leadership Council. With the I'm the Peer Policy Fellow for for Texas Criminal Justice Coalition, and I also help to coordinate the Statewide Leadership Council. And we are a group of individuals who are directly impacted by the system, either formerly incarcerated or our loved ones, and we're here to help bring advocacy and togetherness to the community so we can work together and make changes in our system for people like us. And so I thank everybody for being here today. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to start off with the amazing Doug Smith, who is the senior policy analyst, and he's going to open it up with storytelling so we can all introduce ourselves in a powerful way. So, amazing Doug.
Thank you, amazing Maggie. So I'll start off with a story. So as Maggie said, I'm the senior policy analyst with Texas Criminal Justice Coalition. I've been there for 7 years, and I might be losing track, 6.5 years. It was absolutely my dream job. I got the job about 7 months after I was released from prison. And that felt like a real miracle to me. one of the things that I found to be a thrill was really being on the front lines, working at the Capitol. During that session, that first session, 2015, we helped to pass bills that reduced the prison population by 4,000 within 2 years, and they closed 2 prisons, then another 2 after that. Since that time, our prison population has gone down to about into the 120,000s, and we've closed more than a dozen prisons. We've seen the probation population drop by about 50,000 people. And what we've also seen in Austin is that there's real grassroots strengths. People are showing up at the Capitol, really speaking to a different vision, one that actually makes communities more resilient as opposed to harming people. We're not there yet, but that's what I'm seeing. But I also noticed a real struggle. I remember after, it was the end of last legislative session, not this one, but the 2019 session, I looked around and I saw that I was one of the few people left at the end of the session, that there's all sorts of great advocacy strength in Austin and Houston and Dallas and some local work going on in RGV, and it was like, I see it, but it all dissipates at the end of the legislative session. And moreover, what we're missing is that connection that we all share, right? So I'm asking myself, where are the people from Abilene? Where are the people from the Panhandle? Where are the people from Henderson, Texas, who live in a system where if you are black, it's a statistical impossibility that you won't encounter the criminal justice system in your life, right? Where are they? Where are they? And how are we all joining together to create strength, to support each other, where those of us who are doing work in Austin can come down to the RGV and join with you all? Like, where is that happening? And what would you imagine if we could actually do that? If we could actually all begin to tie together and build on each other's strengths. And so at that point, I made a decision, so just note that term, I made a decision that we needed to do things fundamentally differently. And so we created the Statewide Leadership Council. Maggie joined me in our first class. We have people here who are some of the first. We have Jennifer Toon here, we have Lori Mellinger. And what we envision is that we're going to show up as leaders in this state, irrespective of what our past might say, irrespective of the stories that people tell of us, that we're going to show up as leaders. We're going to be more concerned about being effective than in what other people think about us. And that we're going to support each other, we're going to see the leadership qualities in each of us, and we're going to build on them so we have this expansive quality around the state. So the result of that is that we are all across the state. You can see, if you took a map of the Statewide Leadership Council and put little pins where we have members, we're all across the state. When we show up at the Capitol, they know our name. When we work on legislation and we orchestrate legislative hearings, they are done expertly, better than any other group. That's who we are, right? And we support each other. So that all started with a decision. So I'm going to ask each of you to consider, those of you on Facebook, I'm going to ask you a question. And so the question is, what's the powerful decision that you've made that's changed the course of your life? That's how I'd like you to introduce yourself. What's your name? And what's the powerful decision that you've made that's changed the course of your life? Because when we introduce ourselves like that, we're not saying, here's this thing that happened to me. We're saying, this is the decision that I made to change the course of my life and to impact other people. So I'd love for Maggie to get us started. I'll do that.
I'll just do a quick one of the
You're doing great. So Maggie, I want to invite you to tell your story. So And Maggie's pretty expert at this. She can do this in under 2 minutes. So, the struggle you faced, the powerful decision you made, and what's the outcome?
Okay. So thank you. I love doing this storytelling session with Doug because he's so well at explaining it and good at explaining it. But so I was spending most of my life in and out of prison, circling in and out of county jails. I was addicted to drugs and I had 3 children and I could not keep my head above water. So throughout this cycle, I thought that with my felonies and everything that I've been through, I was never going to be able to do anything. That I was just destined to die as either incarcerated or out in the streets somewhere, and that was it. I ended up losing custody of my children, and I became this person that had nothing to lose. So my last time in prison was I got arrested in 2016, and I had lost everything, but I started to see my oldest daughter, and she was coming to visit me, and it was giving me hope. And I had originally thought that I was going to just do my time and then go on to the bitter end. But then once I started to see, my oldest daughter, I started to have some hope, and then I had 2 more children out there that could come see me, could come find me one day. So I had to choose right there. Is it going to be me in prison when they come find me, or are they going to find me and be proud of who I am when they do find me? So I had to make that decision, and I left prison, and I didn't know what I was going to do. I just knew I wasn't going to go backwards. And so I began doing advocacy work and just showing up in places that I knew there was a prosecutor there was people that were making decisions for people like me. And I had seen so many systemic inequities while I was in prison, women doing less time than me simply because of the color of their skin. And so I kept saying, somebody has to know, somebody has to know. And so I was putting myself in places to where I could tell people what was happening. And then I ran into Texas Criminal Justice Coalition in the Austin area during 2019 session. And I had been just trying to empower other people to become advocates just like I am. I came from prison, I came from 20 years of nothing. I had nothing to hope for when I got out. And today I get to travel with the amazing Doug Smith and all of these. Mark Vasquez has been amazing here in the Valley. We have people from Henderson, Abilene, all over Texas, and I just can't wait to continue to empower people to come to Austin when we have decisions that need to be made for people like us. And so, thank you, Doug.
She's calling me the amazing Maggie Luna. She's calling me the amazing Doug Smith. The term is the amazing Maggie Luna. I even call her AML. So I'd love to get folks to introduce themselves who are here. If someone's monitoring Facebook Live, I'd love to hear any of the comments. So the question is, by way of introduction, I'd love for you to answer the question, just who you are, and what is a powerful decision that you made in your life that changed the course of your life for you and for others. And so I'm going to start over here on my left. We have enough people here where we can possibly hear from everyone. So welcome, sir.
They changed my life.
Yes.
Hello, buenas tardes. Hello, everybody. My name is Jose Villarreal, and I am a professor of history. Got laid off from UTRGV. I was teaching sociology there for about 4.5 years before that at other universities. But the decision that I think that influenced me significantly is we took a field trip to Mexico City way back in the day. I'm old school. been around the block a couple of times, including in the walls. And so we met with some students of the University of UNAM, and there they were just getting over the massacre in 1968 of the students there by the government. And I was totally unaware of what any political movement was about. And so I became intrigued by the way they organized the resistance and the mass movement of students, teachers, professors, healthcare workers, union workers, and how they were able to organize such a mass movement, considering the tremendous and cruel response from the Mexican government. And so they took me to the site where the student had been shot, massacred, men, women, and children, and the granaderos were still out in the streets. And I was a Green Hornet who wasn't aware of any political movement or anything of any sort. And so I said, you know what, I was ready to go into Marine Corps as a Marine Corps officer, commissioned as a second lieutenant, and I made a complete U-turn and said, hell no, I can serve my country in a better way. And so I became involved in the Chicano movement. I've been a member of the Brown Berets, the farm workers, and continue to advocate for prison rights and immigrants and migrant children. And here I am trying to contribute something. I learned something from you guys as well.
So great. So I don't know how far my cord is going to go. So I'm gonna try to come to you. Awesome. Introduce yourself. What kind of powerful decision you made?
Hi, my name is Laura Del Mariano. I'm actually the representative in the Mayor's office. Just wanted to come and be a resource to people in any way that I can.
Powerful decision.
Powerful decision. Let's see. I think it was perhaps just continuing my education, getting my master's degree perhaps. It's actually how I got involved with the representative's office. I fell in love with the work they do there and being involved with the community, and I just kind of stayed on.
Wonderful. So glad you're here. Yes. I'm really pushing it here, so I'm going to just hand the microphone to you.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Pharr Salter. I am a family-born. I'm a supporter of the arts, supporter of music, supporter of everything all you people do. I usually accompany my wife to these meetings and stuff. My day-to-day is I'm a consultant for one of the big box stores in Brooklyn, but I am a business owner. Spot I let a lot of the nonprofits do stuff out of there. There's a lot of these spots and runs out there, that kind of stuff. But every time I come to any of these types of events, I learn more. I spread the knowledge to my peers and areas that don't normally get this kind of information. Big box stores, all capitalism, and just hustle bustle, retail, ching. So there's times of slow moments I will sit with a coworker and educate them a little. The realities of what's going on in the valley, there's a lot of things that people don't see because they're focused on sports or distractions day-to-day that I don't want to disappear. I don't want the valley to disappear for what it's known for. It's nature, it's natural beauty. It's being destroyed by SpaceX and stuff like that. But I'm from Brownsville. I said that in the beginning. But the first time I've been moving back to the valley. I lived in Austin for about 7 years, and I had a choice of staying up there or coming back. I chose coming back, but I think there was definitely a lot. I guess I was returning to Brownsville, being bored, and being like, all right, we could stay here and be bored, or get up and do something about it. We decided to open a business and stuff like that. And I feel more accomplished having returned here than my 20s that I spent in Austin. I do have two, I have seen I didn't know I was going to speak at this today, or anything like that. It's the company behind Carlighter. But I'm learning what I can from this and support you guys any way I can and spread this knowledge to my peers as best as I can.
Cool.
We might be able to make it.
Hi everybody, my name is Michelle Serrano. I work for Los Unidos. I know some folks that are here. I was invited here to support as well and share everything that's happening and, let more people know that this is a resource and that, there are, like, a lot of times for Los Unidos, like what we focus on, the people we focus on are like, the community that like is most affected by a lot of the systemic inequities that have been created by our country and like by society at large. But and in terms of like the specific topic and like making choices and stuff like that, I made a choice, like, and we lived in Austin, and I made a choice, I remember, because we ended up having police raid our home one night. And they tore apart everything because they thought that we were drug dealers. They had nothing to prove it. They thought we were drug dealers. And then we went to jail for it. And we went to jail for having a bomb and a roach. They didn't find anything because we weren't drug dealers. But it affected us. It affected everything about us. And like I learned a lot about the criminal justice system. I told off the police and in the squad van or whatever, I was like, y'all know you smoke weed too. Like, I was like adamant that like this, like the whole law in itself was a BS law. And like I learned a lot more, I started to stand up for myself more. And I wanted to fight more. So I made that choice that day that, I would make sure that whatever path I followed would be one that was for justice, so.
Thank you. Thank you.
I can't reach that far. I invite you to come on up and just introduce yourself.
I'm gonna introduce myself. I know what life's about. 9.5 years in prison. You do what you do what you can't do. You feel what I'm saying? I did organized crime. I take what I do in my life. It's not about who you change, it's not who you are. And we can be all this. We be affiliated and everything. It's not about that. It's about how you change your life. What more you want to life to change? How you gonna do that? 2 steps, 3 steps. It's like AA. It's like narcotics AA. I'm not wrong. I'm guilty for what I did. I did whatever crime I did. It's just how you do it. But when you want to take that first step, what do? You take the first step. What do? You take the first step. What do you do? How do you take it? How do you take the first step? Come on, follow me.
That's also the same thing. I reflect.
You know what the first thing you did? Admit. What I did do?
It's understood.
Attack. The big boys. But men in prison. What you lose? Who's behind? Where's the family? How you gonna take care of your family if you're in prison? Cause being, no disrespect, being stupid in your life and make a crime. Because for what? For a lot that you do, or for because it's about money, it's for who you are, or whatever. When they tell you what you gotta do. That's called, that's crime. I haven't been in prison since 1990. I got out of prison in 1990, 9.5 years. And I've been clean since then. Never been back to prison again. How many years is that? Between 9 and 30 years. I changed my life. If I can change it, whether it's in parole, all that, you never can change your life. But you gotta want to do it. You gotta have to do it. You gotta encourage yourself to do it. People say, oh, I can sit here and do this. Pop 1, 2, 3, do the 9. You know what happens? You get in trouble. You get in trouble. Well, you get stupid, you go to jail. and you violate your parole. You know what I'm saying? You violate your parole. But see, I'm not on parole. I clear all that up. That's done. I came a missionary when I became to myself. Cause I mean, ain't no wrong with bringing care of whatever you do. Ain't no wrong with that. But there's things and sites that you cannot do. You wanna do it. You cannot do it like that.
So I'm gonna ask, just because we got so many people, yes.
I say the truth.
Yeah.
You know, say the truth comes out. That's the truth come out. Because you know, when you let the truth come out, you don't hear what you got. It's power of will. You got power of will.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. And so I'm not going to try to make the microphone go all the way. I'd love to have a few other introductions. So welcome. A powerful decision you made in your life that changed the course of your life and someone else.
Hi, my name is Adrian Cano. I'm here from Pharr, Texas. A powerful decision I made to change my life was when I was in county jail in 2012, after serving 9 years in prison already, facing 25 lives. I decided to call out to God for help because He changed my dad's life, my grandfather's, they were in alcoholism. So, and I was in drug addiction for 22 years, and so I gave it a try. So that's, I think, the most important decision I've made that led to 9 months later to getting off of my past affiliation and getting the sentence I got, get out, now become a productive, law-abiding citizen and recovery coach. I serve in prison ministry, so I'm like a real counselor, right? And I try to help other people struggling with addictions and change their criminal thinking. And I've been out 7 years, I've been sober 9, so I thank God for it.
Glad you're here. Y'all can't see on Facebook, but raise your hand if you're a certified peer, because we have a bunch of them here. Ariana, Maggie, yes, you're good company. Yes. So, Megan, I'm going to check in with you on time. How are we doing?
5 minutes.
5 minutes, good. We have enough time for a few other intros. So, here's how we'd like you to introduce yourself. What's your name? And we're interested in what's a powerful decision you made in your life that changed the course of your life. All right, what's the decision you made? So, I can't reach all the way back there with the mic, so I'm going to give you a choice if y'all want to project your voices, or you can come up here and grab the mic.
Well, I'm working on a story.
Oh, you're working on a story? Where are you from?
Utah,
Okay.
I want to get a platform. Pretty covered to that, sure.
Wonderful. Yes. So glad you're here. Thank you.
You look good.
Ariana.
Hello, my name is Ariana Mellinger. I'm originally from East Texas, a small East Texas town called Jacksonville, Texas. I currently live inside of Houston. So something powerful that changed my life was I was incarcerated in 2017. I came out in 2019 and I decided to do something completely different and change everything. I decided to go live with my father and his family and to try suggestions, something I had never done before. I wanted to try anything that anybody would suggest to try and give me a new life and a new career. So I'm now a certified peer. I work with youth between the ages of 12 to 20. So that was a part of that change, was to be able to get back into something that I myself didn't have. So now I get to work with somebody to give back to through something that I went through myself. So I'm just thankful to be here today and also be able to be in this platform to also be able to tell others that change is possible, like we were saying earlier. A lot of people don't believe in hope and they don't believe that people can change, but there's many people inside of this room that can show very evident that we do. So thank you for having me.
Change is possible. Change is actually happening. Wonderful.
I'll go next.
Thank you.
My name's Ofelia de los Santos. I actually work for the diocese. Brownsville, lost my voice. And the thing that changed my life was having my son in college and becoming addicted to alcohol and drugs. And at the time, my husband and I were successful. We had our own professions. I was actually a criminal defense lawyer. And turned away just one day. I just left the practice because what good would it do to defend all the people that I did if I was losing my son? And I do this ministry today for the church. I'm the director for jail ministry, and we have over 200 volunteers that go into 38 different facilities that we have in the 4-county area that is the diocese, which is Willacy, Cameron, Hidalgo, and Starr. And a lot of those are men, and they come from the Acts community. We now have the Colby retreats that we do in all the prisons. We have more than half of the prisons in Texas. We only have 3 prisons down here, Segovia, Lopez, and Willacy State Jail. 2 of them are state jail, but they're also prison units for transfers and transitions. And so every single one of those, we're able to go in once a year and do like an Acts retreat, but they're called Colby after Maximilian Kolbe, prisoner at Auschwitz, who gave his life for another prisoner. And my life has completely changed. I still struggle with my son and his addiction and his mental illness, but I find that doing ministry for the Lord helps me to stay sane and ride the ups and downs that we do. And always there's hope that there will be a conversion and a change. And Mr. Cano is an example of that. So I'm going to be asking him to pray for my son. Thank you so much for letting me join this group.
We're good?
We're good.
Could we just hear, is there any comment on Facebook Live? I'm going to share it. Okay, we're going to, anyone on Facebook Live, please introduce yourself.
Yes, please.
Just write in
put
the chat. Yep.
Your challenge, your choice, and your outcome. What's going on? Okay, so the next thing that we're going to do is I'm going to ask Dr. Villarreal, Ms. Ophelia, and Adrian to come join us in the front so we can have a short discussion on what they're doing in the community. Facebook, what is it that you do in the community today?
Well, good afternoon, Jose Villarreal. I don't know if I call myself Dr. Villarreal, but I went back to school in 2006 and managed to get a PhD in Chicano Latino Studies. But I am active in the community defending immigrants, migrants, and so I've done a lot of work here in the community and inclusively, of course, resistance against the current, when the former president was here, I was very active in the community opposing his policies in Corpus Christi and here in the Valley, protesting. Even if I did a one-man protest, I was out there with my Mr. Former President picket sign, and so I'm very much dedicated. I think my heart and soul into defending migrant rights, and I continue to do so. And of course, everything is so complex because everything is tied. All the oppression is tied like an octopus. We have the oppression against migrants. We have the oppression against the prisons. We have the oppression against people of color, and so it's a very complex monster that we're facing. But together, I think we can move forward. So,
thank you, Dr. William. So I told you a little bit about myself. What I do today is, in jail ministry was my first department that I got to direct at the diocese, In a year, I'll have to give that up. I have a deacon that's coming on board and is being trained right now to take over. I'm running immigration services that provides regular applications for people that are able to apply for residency or citizenship. Our office charges a lot less than lawyers. We work with accredited representatives, accredited by the Department of Justice. I love my work very much. I dedicate all my work for my family and the good of my family. I work with a lot of men and women who have been incarcerated. And one of the things that I see that we don't have the resources for, the church never has money for these peripheral ministries, and that's what jail ministry is that we don't have any re-entry programs. We need programs that will help people coming out learn how to dress for an interview, learn how to write a resume, how to speak and how to answer the questions, how to navigate that whole interview experience. That's one thing that I see. The other thing is that many times I get called because we are next to Catholic Charities, which is a separate 501c3 to the diocese, and they don't always have enough money to help all the people that need temporary housing, food, groceries, things like that, but they will help if we get them at the time when the money has come in or the food has come in. So my way of helping the formerly incarcerated is to try to kind of show them where they can go for different resources, shelter, things like that. But there's a great need for someone to start a nonprofit in the Rio Grande Valley, like the one in San Antonio called Chrysalis, which is a great nonprofit that helps everyone coming out, put them in classes and charge them a very small fee if they can pay or nothing if they can't pay. We desperately need something like that in the Valley, and I'm very interested in helping with the re-entry programs. The ministry right now in the prisons is good. They're not allowing us in right now because of COVID. The only people that we are allowed to see are the 3 state prisons, and I have regular men that go in once a week, and some priests that will go in and celebrate Mass. But pretty soon I'm hoping that we can start with the retreats again. The men are hungry, they're lonely, they're more isolated than you and I. And it just hurts my heart so much. But thank you so much for introducing this new organization. Every time the legislature meets, the Catholic Church takes its volunteers to advocate for things that pertain to criminal justice. We fight against the death penalty. We fight for migrants. We fight for immigrants, wherever they're coming from. There's a difference between migrants and immigrants. There's a difference between a refugee and asylum immigrants and economic immigrants. We fight for all of them. We fight for the unborn, of course. There are many, many areas that we go to the legislature with and say, this is our Catholic agenda. Can you help us? And we individually visit, just like you all are doing right now, sending out the notices, calling your congressman. That's a great thing to do to promote this. Thank you.
My name is Adrian Cano. Once again, thank you for everyone here to meet new people. So I'm based out of Rio Grande Valley. The service that I'm able to provide right now is I will speak. I'm allowed to go speak like at the parole office for orientation when people come out of prison, and but right now it's stopped right because of the COVID situation, and also at the drug courts in Edinburgh Courthouse, and I've been privileged to be able to serve in prison ministry for the past 6 years, and which I go on Wednesdays, and I'm here in Lopez Segovia about 3-4 hours a day. So I'm privileged to be able to go back after, like I mentioned before, being an ex-con, ex-felon, right? Being out of prison 7 years. But so my goal, what I feel that God's called me to do, my purpose is to help others that have been incarcerated, that struggle with drug addiction, alcohol is a drug. So I try to help them break that mindset, old traditional mindsets, the criminal behavior, the cognitive behavior, cognitive thinking, break the mindsets of gang awareness, all that, because I grew up in that since the age of 12 years old, into drug addiction, grew up in a gang life here in Pharr, and to notice that, like I mentioned earlier in 2012, that all I was fed as a kid on the streets was a lie. And I believed it, you know what I mean? And I thank God I'm alive to share it, you know, so that's my drive, my purpose, you know, to encourage others to open up their eyes, you know, especially the youth. I'm able to reach out to the youth. I'm an expressional speaker. I go speak at the schools. Apparently not this past year, right? But opening it up, hopefully, God willing, continue to do that. I'm able to provide service. I do Bible studies, so people come that are on parole, probation, that need the ANA classes. I'm recognized, I'm certified by the state to be able to give the signatures for those classes. So it counts, it gives them credit for attending a class for peer support, recovery support, and I incorporate, you know, faith in it, you know, Christ, because that's what worked for me. As I mentioned earlier, I came to know in 2012 because I didn't believe in God myself. I was dedicated to the street life. I gave it my all. I'm an extremist, and I was dedicated, and that's the life I thought I was supposed to live. Until, of course, God came into my life, I allowed him in there. And now, God's restored my relationship with my sons. I got 2 sons, 16 and 15-year-olds. And I thank God that they're not nowhere close to where I was at that age. Like I mentioned earlier, I've been clean and sober 9 years. And what I believe is that if you're consistent in what you want, like someone mentioned earlier, that you gotta want it, that's the key. You gotta want it. You gotta be tired of being sick and tired of being sick and tired. I'm privileged to be the recovery support peer specialist for the past, well, that title just came out about 2 years ago, but a recovery coach since 2015. And to be able to go and serve, you know, throughout Austin, Corpus, Cranston, I know them because I lived in San Antonio in 2018 when I was studying from LCDC, and they actually helped me out. So it is a good resource, and I try to help as well, show others how to fill out resumes. I do mentoring, one-on-one mentoring in the public environment, of course, and how to overcome that thinking that, because a lot of people think that once you committed a crime, and you got all these tattoos, that automatically you're shunned from the world. And that's actually stuff we're told in prison, fighting the same guys, you know. No, nobody wants you out there for, you know, just continue doing what you're doing, you're already edged out from the society, nobody wants you, the stigma. So I also speak around in San Antonio, speaking on removing stigma. The stigma, the language, as I mentioned with Mark, when we met the other day, is removing the how we speak, you know, because sometimes our words push more people further into addiction, you know, instead of just meeting them where they're at and helping them move forward, you know, and removing the stigma because the community, I mean, as I mentioned before with Mark here in Pharr, and I try to go speak to the mayor's online, because I believe in having like something like an outreach re-entry programs, because Project Rio got done away with years ago, I don't know why. And there's very limited re-entry services. I know Workforce has something that they give and provide, but it's very limited, you know. So I think what you're all doing is awesome, and to be able to help something like that grow here in the valley was much needed, because everywhere, as working in the field, in the recovery field, everywhere in the valley, they charge money, and if you don't have insurance, they won't see you. They gotta do screenings. And people are just willing to get help like that day. I want help, I want to get sober, you know, I need help, I want to stop my criminal activities. But the help is very limited, you know, and so, I mean, what y'all doing is awesome. And I thank y'all for what y'all doing, for your service, and thank you for the opportunity to share with y'all.
Thank you. So that's a good segue on to our next topic. One of the things that the Statewide Leadership Council works on is, or we worked on this last session, is the Clean Slate Initiative. So Clean Slate, and his shirt has meaning. So somebody from the Kolinsky unit drew this for us, sent it in, and so he gave us people who are eligible. Now, to get order of non-disclosure, sometimes you don't know what it is, sometimes you have to pay for it. And so we're just trying to push the legislature to automatically clear those records when they're eligible. Now, New Wings is people like me and Doug, we've served our time. We have felonies, they are convictions, and we're not eligible for that. So Doug came up with, well, we no sooner grow wings than be eligible for expunction. Well, why don't we just grow some wings? So we're trying to grow wings at the legislature. We're trying to push some legislation that will allow some felonies. Once you've been convicted, you can have that cleared. So my next question is, what kind of possibilities would this open up for people that you work with?
Well, I'm sure that you guys that do some time and are out there probably have better ideas than some of us here, you know, even though I've had some experience with the legal system myself. But it's very difficult, like the gentleman was saying, to come out with a felony conviction because it sticks with you, and very correctly, you know, that stigma goes with you. You go to apply for a job, and the first thing is, have you ever been convicted of a felony conviction? And it sticks with you for about 7 years, and then I think after that, you kind of, you know, you still have to mention it. I'm in the educational system, so I always have to mention that, you know, I do have a felony conviction. It better be, and if you don't mention it, then they'll throw out your application. And so, for a clean state, first of all, I think we have to realize that we're dealing with a very conservative state. The governor, we need to get him out first. And then we can work around that and create a mass movement so that we can oppose in conjunction with the voter suppression. They're out there right now in Georgetown, marching from Georgetown to Austin to protest the voter registration. And I understand suppression, I'm sorry. And I understand that the local organization of farm workers is also going to join them here today. And so it would mean that, you know, that you would have a better opportunity for housing, for education. When you apply for student aid, you're automatically knocked out. If you have a felony conviction, you can apply for a loan, I understand. It would mean that you could apply for housing. It would mean that, you know, you have a chance to a better opportunity, you know, and to start a legal movement to have your conviction removed is very difficult right now, I understand. For a pardon, I mean, what attorney here in Texas or anywhere else is going to take up your case and say, I want to apply for a pardon, I want my conviction removed, I've been clean, I've been out for 7, 8, 10, 20 years. You know, it takes a lot. It takes a lot of legal work. It takes a lot of money. You need sensitive lawyers that are sensitive to the needs of ex-offenders that are out in the community trying to do the right thing. And so it's a difficult task, but it can be done. You know, and this is a start. This is an idea, but we need to follow up with action. Without action, nothing is done.
Thank you. One idea that I would like to plant in everybody today is this, that there are several employers in the Valley that do hire formerly incarcerated people. One of them, a person that I very much admire, is Mr. Gus Casas from Edinburgh. He has a glass company, and he's always giving opportunities to the men who are coming out. And there are more like him out there. I just don't have the resources, but that would be something that would be fairly easy. All of us know employers around us, people that we, you know, shop at, places where we shop at. I'm not talking about the Walmarts or, you know, the big H-E-Bs, but I'm talking about the smaller businesses that we have, so many down here in the Valley. It would be so easy to compile a list. And that is one way that we can help people that are coming out. Besides all the other stuff we've talked about, this is a gold mine. This is a challenge, I know, but it's a gold mine out there. And I've been waiting for somebody that would come in here and help. I am ready to help with whatever little resources we have. But if we lack resources, we do not lack in knowing different people everywhere. The Catholic Church is nothing if not organized. So we have a lot of people to refer. to you if someone starts this. So I would like to see something like that. The advocacy is great. I think we need that. Along with what I told you that we do, there are other groups that go up that are not necessarily Catholic groups that also have this in mind. So you begin to network, right, and join together. There is now a coalition nationwide for criminal justice ministry that was started by the Catholic Church, but is allowing everyone to participate. I believe that, is Mark here? Where's Mark? I haven't met him. Hi, Mark. I've talked to Mark only on the phone. You've joined us on some of the virtual meetings that we've had. It's all about joining together with a common goal. Everything that's successful, that's the key. So however I can help with this common goal, that I will provide whatever resources we can. I think a job is the very most important thing when I can get out.
Yeah, that is. So if felonies will be able to be cleared, and that would be awesome. As I mentioned, I've been like 9 years without a felony, and it's still difficult to get a job, or like a good paying job. I mean, you can get a job. It's but sometimes you want better, and for me, I wanted better. That's why I chose to get educated, continue my education. And prison also, there's an opportunity to get educated. It's a person's choice, you know. And I believe in choices. I believe, like Ms. Ariana shared, there's hope, and there is hope. So if that were to come to pass, I mean, that would open so many doors. And that's my desire, is like when I do reach out to political officials, is because sometimes in some cities, they don't want people to know that there's a drug problem, that there's a criminal problem. So they try to brush it under the rug, you know, but there is a problem, you know, and these people, like me, like I used to be, we made mistakes, you know, and so who's to say we don't deserve a second chance, you know what I mean? But the thing is that a lot of us do our time, we come back and coming back to the city, you know, and then you apply. Some people would like to work for the city, you know, but because of certain policies, you know, the conviction, you know, depending on the conviction, of course that matters, and I understand, but I believe there are some convictions that can be, bypassed, or, you know, less an opportunity for them, especially if they've been out for so many years, they've been clean and sober, they've been productive in their life, they've been consistent in their walk, in their change, in their behavior, you know, being a productive citizen, law-abiding citizen. I mean, I think they should deserve an opportunity and be bettering themselves, being a better provider for their families if they have, you know. And so that's, I think that would be amazing if felonies could be cleared. And I'm for it, you know.
Thank you. So, I really appreciate everything. We have one more question. And I like what you just said, we don't all get life sentences. We come home. And what kind of people do we want in our communities when they come home? Do you want somebody who's full of revenge and hate, or somebody that has hope? And so my last question would be, what vision do you have for your community, and how can you see something like SLC, Statewide Leadership Council, helping to push your community for better?
These are tough questions, and probably you guys out there have better answers than we do, but we'll brainstorm the best we can, and hopefully the mic will be open to some of you guys out there to add to the discussion, because we don't know everything. At least I don't claim to know everything. In my studies, make sure that all of us that are interested in this and overcoming this problem, that we research thoroughly the prison industrial complex. And a professor by the name of Angela Davis, which I have the pleasure of meeting at Michigan State University, she is, I would think, the #1 expert on the prison industrial complex. And we can go into theory, and she's got very good, very solid arguments, very, very foundational argument. Of course, we're dealing with mass incarceration. Generally, foundationally, we're talking about 2 million to 3 million people incarcerated in the United States over, I have it down here. people under surveillance or probation, parole, it's like chingos, excuse me, lots of people out there that are being paroled with supervision. And before I get into my vision is working also as a alcoholic and drug abuse counselor for about 9 years. I saw the offenders keep coming back and back. I said, what happened to me? Well, you know, I didn't report on time, I came on dirty, and so they're back. And so the system is quickly to put you back into incarceration. And so when I spoke to Mark, I wanted to just quickly address the reason that people keep going back. A lot of people, and the system is ready to reject it, have problems doing paper. And so we need to focus also on some sessions on how to train these offenders that are coming out to do their paper correctly. And you know, don't go on the fast lane, you know, get on the feeder and things of that. And so my vision is for this organization to expand, to be an advocate and to be action oriented, but at the same time we need the organizations inside the walls to be in contact with this organization. There are legitimate, not gang-related organizations. There are legitimate organizations in the prisons of Latinos, Mexicanos, Chicanos, or blacks, what have you, that can be in touch with this organization or others that have similar thoughts, so that they can start communicating with you and prepare for the future when they come out. Because when an offender comes out now, there's no, he doesn't know where to go, there's no resources. There's a Texas rehab, they were doing some work, but you know, and then if you get, how do you get along with parole officer? And so these are other issues that can be explored later. But my vision is that without targeting the real problem of poverty, la pobreza, and going back to the barrio and meeting the same homies, and the temptation to get into crime is going to be there again. And fast money, una corrida, una tranza, whatever, you know, it's going to be there. And so if there's no job opportunities, you know, education opportunities, and the spiritual foundation, of course, is very important. Strong spiritual foundation that you pick up inside, or you land in a good spiritual foundation family, have family support. Now, some of these guys don't have any family support. Their wife have divorced them, they've lost their children. And so I envision advocacy groups coming together, a strand of advocacy groups uniting with other groups in the community and trying to oppose some of these oppressive policies that we're facing, you know. The migrant population, we have the migrant detention centers, when we have, you know, offenders who are coming out. And so my vision is having a barrio like we used to have in the back in the old days, where the neighbors respect each other as neighbors. Hey, we're having carne asada today, comadre, aquí le vamos un poquito de arroz, hicimos frijoles. You know, this is the valley. This is what the valley was about when I lived in the valley many years ago. You know, la amistad, la hermandad, you know, the love that we feel for each other here in the valley. You know, that's being erased by all the oppression and all the division that we face in our society, and of course this COVID. You know, and so we need to, I envision, you know, the Valle, the way that it used to be, the family values, you know, the hugging each other, the caring for each other, and creating a better world for all of us, you know, because, you know, and for our children, beginning to the atrás, you know, so they can continue advocating for social justice, you know, and a better world.
Thank you, Dr. Bill. I envision a valley, and we're really not even a valley, right? We're a delta, but the Rio Grande Valley should be a place where everyone is accepted. And everyone should remember that we are a country of immigrants. We have 16 centers right now just with unaccompanied minor children that are coming to our borders because they're escaping the violence and the horrors of those, you know, Central American countries. and it just hurts me so bad. I'm 73, by the way, I'm a baby boomer. And people that I grew up with and went to school with here at PSJA come to me and say, well, when are they just gonna stop coming, you know? Like, are we just supposed to take in the world? And I'm like, well, where's your title to this country? Where's your deed? You know, this belongs to God. All of this belongs to God. And we're not yet out of room. The last time I looked at Texas or traveled to Texas, we still have plenty of room, but those arguments don't get me anywhere. You know, they just make me feel better. But I envision a valley that is united in accepting everyone. The diversity is coming through our borders, whether we like it or not. We've got to learn to live with it if we don't like it, and the laws help us to, you know, act the right way and do the right thing. But I never thought that we would regress like we have recently, especially with what's happening to the Black lives, you know, in our country. It's very discouraging, but again, we are a people of hope, and we have to keep fighting. It's all about how you live your life in the end, isn't it? That's what the good book says. We're going to be judged, but what did you do for the least of my brothers and sisters? And so, with the little time I have left, I want to do everything I can to build that kind of valley that we're talking about. Where if someone's in trouble and they need help right now and they don't have money, you can go here. If somebody needs a job right now or their house burned down, you can go here. And all working together, all faiths, all races, all ethnic groups. That's what I want for the valley. And I see a lot of that already. I'm not here just doom and gloom. We have a lot of good things going on and people helping each other. I just like to be a part of that. And I welcome all of you to join me in doing what we can to build that kind of valley.
Yeah.
So, how would envision this in the community, you know, were to come to pass? Well, it would make the better community to lead to what you all are envisioning, and I would envision the same. I agree, because that's how I grew up down here. That's how it used to be in the barrio. Everybody got along, neighbors, cookouts, and all that. But of course, generations have changed, and a lot of things have come to play in there. And the stigma, of course, the culture, old traditional mindsets, you know. But how it would come would be I like how you touched on the barrio, because you see, that's what I've been told throughout all my years in prison, that pasa lo mismo, you go back to the same thing, that there's no change, there's no hope. And honestly, that's a lie. There is hope. You know, it falls down to an individual. And me, I think on my behalf, when I got released from prison, I went back to my body. I had nowhere else to go. And they're still selling drugs in the corner, still gang banging. I mean, but one thing I did know was that I had a choice. So when they came looking for me, hey, let's barbecue, you're already out. I would have seen, you know, where were y'all when I was in prison? Come send me, you know, for coffee or some snacks or hygiene, or looked out for, you know, my grandma's yard or something. Like, those are friends, you know. But then I was lost, and the reason I say that were lies is because I was those that were dedicated to give my life for another dude on the street over a gang color or a street name or what have you. You know, willing to die. And then you're there, you're like, you don't exist no more, but you come out, you're back, and now you exist, right? So, I know God opened up my eyes to that reality. And so, on my behalf, like you said, it's true, it's hard to get a job. But I didn't have a choice. I was then determined not to go back to selling drugs. Determined not to go back to using drugs. God did everything for that. So I said, I don't struggle with drug addiction or alcohol. You know, I don't struggle in that area. But the thing to get a job, I couldn't get a job. You know, the vehicle, court costs, child support, all that stuff plays a factor for a lot of people. And like you mentioned, the support. Not everybody has that good family financial support. Some of us don't. I didn't, you know. I had some support from my dad, and it was limited, you know. He was a single parent. So I grew up without money. So you know, to me, I say humbling myself because I borrowed my dad's lawnmower and went and cut yards around the neighborhood to make money, to make ends meet, to be able to rent my own place, to be able to catch up on child support. work at Burger King, Goodwill, little places, odd jobs, determined, and I say humbly because as a health leader perspective, you see people that cut yards like they're in the ditch and if there's feeding or what have you. And I think everybody regardless in that lifestyle is feeding somehow. But because I got run into some guys from my past, like, hey, what are you doing? Pushing lawnmower. Are you feeding? Are you adult? Like, what are you doing? And get back to what you used to do, man. You're good at it. And I said, no, I can do my yard. I don't have to worry about watching my back when I'm driving, or that a cop's gonna pull me over. So I'd rather do it legal and ethical, and do it the right way. And what I've learned is that when you do it the right way, it's a longer process, but it's worth it, and that's what I've learned. So if this would come to pass, that would be amazing. A person does individually have a choice, and being able to provide more resources is the key, of course. And like you mentioned, unity, united, to getting this same purpose, same goal, to help better each other, to make a better community, better. It affects everything. It affects everybody. But thank you.
Thank you. And I want to thank all of y'all for everything that you do in your community, and we are hopeful that we can bring whatever we can and help grow. So thank you. Right now we have a 10-minute break. Right? Yeah. Okay? Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and start the next part. What we have planned next is the community visioning session. And what this is just so we can engage with you, see how we can support each other. And I was just telling somebody, it's so important because I didn't know when I was incarcerated that there were people out here fighting for me. I didn't know when I was incarcerated that I could actually be part of something. I thought I was part of the problem. And today, I want to be part of the solution. And so hopefully we can brainstorm together, come up and figure out how we can be part of the solution together. So Doug Smith is going to lead us in our community visioning session.
Wonderful, wonderful. So I just want to thank the panel again. Thank you so much. And thanks for sticking with us because we want to continue to hear your input. So I'm hoping to hear from everyone in the room here, and for folks on Facebook Live, whether you're watching live or whether you're going to be watching this later, it's really important that you go ahead and enter in your input so that we're hearing from everyone. So what we'd love to hear from you is just what is your vision for the community? So just sort of look out into the future and the things that you're really committed to, right? If we have really progressed forward because of your work, what is it that you see? What's your vision for this community? And so we're going to kind of go around the room. Again, we have trouble with the microphone.
We've given out sticky notes, so...
Good. All right, so we're going to hand out sticky notes, but I do want to hear from folks.
So if you want to come up and...
If you want to come up, otherwise I'm just going to walk to you, because that's what I like to do. And I want to hear from you. What's your vision for this community? Mark, come on up here.
I guess the one thing I envision, and I see as a very likely reality, is the language that Mr. Connell was stating in regards to the stigma associated with those who are formerly incarcerated. I envision a future where the language regarding how we speak of the formerly incarcerated, the language that we use when we speak of those who have had previous incidents with the law or have not, I envision a moment where that would change, where certain terms, the uses of certain phrases and what have not that are applied to specifically those who are formerly incarcerated. I certainly see that I envision a future where the language changes, where it's no longer a language that incorporates a sense of rejection or a sense of dismissal, but one that incorporates a sense of empowerment, that you serve your time, you come back home, and you don't start serving your second sentence, you move on and move forward. I envision that particular kind of future in regards to the language on the incarcerated.
It's so important, thank you. It goes back to the stories we tell about ourselves. And it's all embodied within the language that we use, about ourselves and others. So, love to hear from others. What's your vision for this community? And you're writing stuff down, but I want to invite others to come on up. Do you want to come on up here and share your vision? Sure. Absolutely.
Hi there, I'm Fabian Boston, Mark's son. The vision what I envision for the Valley's future is there's this weird understanding about, like, or at least this thought process about crime and like how people are punished, that it's like a moral failing, it's this like something's wrong with this person. I hope that at some point in the future we realize that a lot of what forces people into these positions is like their socioeconomic conditions, like their actual material conditions in the world that they were raised in, and that the things that they have access to are what determine whether or not somebody goes down this path. And there's various studies that show that, you know, kind of common sense, but the more money you throw at somebody, the better they do in life later on. And we happen to live in one of the poorest regions in the entire country. We live in a region where there's basic infrastructure is lacking, it floods every single time it rains. We have some of the highest concentration of people who like use drugs. We have one of the highest concentrations of people who don't graduate high school. And all that contributes to this culture of whatever happens to you, you deserve it. It's your choice that you make. It's not, you did what you had to do, you got caught up in something, you were shaped differently. It's never, like a flower can't grow, it's locked in the room. And we kind of blame the flower for not being able to grow without realizing that it's locked in a room, it doesn't have light, it's cut off from everything else. So I wish to see a future in which we realize that people need to have a certain baseline material conditions met if they're going to reach these social expectations that we all place on each other.
You do know that folks are going to watch that on repeat on Facebook. Thank you for that. And then I'm going to ask you to maybe go around and grab some of the sticky notes from folks, because I want to hear other people's responses. Anyone else want to come up? Speak your vision. Mary? Thank you so much. Did I get your name right?
Yeah. Good afternoon. I'm actually here with Workforce Solutions. I am the community liaison. I've been with Workforce for 8 years, and it's a pleasure to being able to go out to the community and inform our customers of the services that we have to offer. A lot of our community does not know of the services that we have to offer. A lot of individuals do not know that we have great services available. My brother has been in and out of college, because I try to clear it for my kids that my brother's not bad, my brother's the best. So when my brother came out of prison, he had nowhere to turn to. He did not have employment, he did not have education. And one time my son told me, "Mom, why is Theo always in college? Why is he always changing what he's studying for?" He was 4. And I'm like, okay, so your Theo doesn't go to college, your Theo does things he's not supposed to. So when I educated my children, and and educated my brother, there's hope for you out there. There's employment opportunities. There's work for you. And one of the great services that we offer with Workforce Solutions is fidelity bonding. This is a service for at-risk candidates who have criminal records, bad credit, tainted background, and it's a service that we pay for 6 months. After 6 months, you've already proven yourself to the employer, and you continue. One of the things that I can share, I will not say the employer name, but I have an individual working with the parole office, the probation office. He came out of work, he goes, I just need to work. He goes, I just need to work. He started off as a dishwasher, $7.25 an hour. And slowly but surely, he went to a busboy, to a waiter, to manager, and now 8 years later, he's the area manager for that restaurant. Why? Because he had his mindset, I need to do this for my family. I need to do this for myself. So my vision is encouraging the community to look at all of the services that we have to offer out there, because these services are free. And if we can't help you, I'm the type of person from being in all of these events, knowing where I can refer you. So if I can't help you, okay, I went to an event, this is an organization that helps you. You need food, call 211. If you cannot find a food pantry there, they're gonna refer you to somebody in your county. They're gonna refer you to somebody in your city. So there's hope out there. So my vision is to empower everyone to move up in life. Like my brother right now, he's actually working at a liquor store, but he's a manager now. So he's like, okay, but he's changed his life, and like Mr. Cano here, he's been sober for 3 years. And he works at a liquor store. Imagine how hard that is for him. Yeah. But he's like, I can do it, so I can empower others. So I really appreciate the invitation, and I have a lot of services available. I do ask you to please visit us at wfsolutions.org to get an idea of all the services that we offer. And if you are here from Hidalgo, Star, and Willacy County, you can follow us on Facebook at RGB Operation Get Hired. We have a lot of job opportunities that are coming up for at-risk candidates as well. And please feel free to stop by my table. I will be here until the end, and appreciate the invitation.
Oh my goodness. Come out on a Saturday to speak out for your community, for your clients, and for your organization. That is some commitment. Thank you so much. So I see these incredible people at a table in the back. Does someone want to come up? I'd love to hear from you. What's your vision for the community?
Hello, I'm also Susie. Good morning, so good afternoon. So my name is Batista Delgado. I'm the director for Border Workers United. We're a nonprofit that supports advocates for labor rights. And the reason why we're here and what was very interested to work with Mark is because we know, the conversations have been said, one of the first things that a formerly incarcerated community member needs is to find a job. So that's why we're here. We want to support and advocate for these services. We're going to encourage community members. We're going to be referring to Ms. Mede. That's one of the resources, awesome resources that she has, that the community has. But also I wanted to reach out to the city officials. We're going to be reaching out to different city officials because perhaps some of the cities might have had some kind of reentry program, might have not thought about it or something, but they need more community support. Where I would like us to go in the future would be any program support, laws that might be changed, or just plain old community support. If there's more employers out there that would like to support and give an opportunity for work, that would be great. And also the stigma, just because you have a tattoo, just because you come from the barrio, does not mean that we're wrong or that we're evil people or something, right? So that's what we want to change. And so if there's anything that we can support the community member, anybody out there, And you're embarrassed because you don't know, well, I don't know Workforce Solutions, it's a big program. But we're a nonprofit, we're here for the people. We know the people, we work for the people, so if you're embarrassed, you can come through us, reach out to us, and then we'll refer you out. You know, we're here to extend our hand whenever you need. Thank you.
I'm going to give you some, what else we're hearing. More local resources, better communication, work and freedom, and liberation. Yes. Right. So I'm going to ask another question, and I'm just going to ask you to write it on your sticky if you're on Facebook. Go ahead and write it in so we can get that. So the question I have is, so what if we work together? Those of us who live in Austin, those of you who live in, I guess it's a delta, I did not know that.
Yeah, it's a delta.
It's a delta, so Rio Grande Delta. Thank you for that. Down here in the delta. Those of us in Abilene, those of us in up in Texarkana, what if we all work together? You know, I could tell you that for me, when I hear a legislator from, I don't know, Mason, Texas, person knows who he's talking about, and doesn't really respond to us because, hey, none of his constituents are coming to talk to him about these types of issues. Well, we've got an answer for that. We're going to go find some of his constituents to come and join us in this effort, right? So that he is hearing from his constituents. So that's one of the reasons why we exist at the Statewide Leadership Council. So I want to just ask you, so what if we broadened your vision beyond just this community, and what if we work together? What's possible for Texas? What's possible for Texas if we all work together? So if folks could write that on their sticky pad, and I'm going to have someone come up who I haven't called on yet. Are both of you back in the back table? I know y'all are writing, so do you want to come and join us? You can say no. Okay, sounds good. All right. So what's possible for Texas? Lori, do you want to come up?
I'm not angry. I just look that way. But I don't know. I mean, I think that the possibilities are endless. I'd like to see legitimate first chances. My daughter doesn't always like to hear the word second chance because she thinks that some people didn't get that legitimate first chance. I'd like to see, like Mark says, I'd like to see language changed where people aren't the sum of what they've done. I would like to see those recurring things that we face, those collateral consequences that we face on the outside. I'd like to be able to rent a house anywhere I wanted to without them running my record, go to school for whatever I wanted to, and not worry about what the licensing requirements are. I would like to I'd like for people to understand that there is no face of incarceration. That it is our brothers and our sisters, our loved ones, our sons, and our family members. And basically, I think that we should be judged on how we treat the least of those people around us.
Okay, so Lori, they're going to be playing that on repeat as well. Oh my goodness, wonderful. Yeah, so, and Devin's getting some stickies from folks, so take your time with that one. And so we can brainstorm and come up with new opportunities for those re-entering society. And I can tell you that for me, and I think this is probably true for anyone who's been involved in the cartel system. Oh, wonderful. I got out of prison with a Hawaiian shirt and black pants that were high waters and $100 check, and that was about it. It was about it. So, yeah, someone asked me, what if a bunch of people got out of prison? Wouldn't that put a demand on our reentry system? And I said to him, what reentry system? Yes. So, yeah, we've got a long way to go. But we've got folks like Mede, we've got folks who are actually speaking out and creating things. So these are some things that we can accomplish at the state level. So let's ask the next question. And this is going to be Mark. How can we create opportunities for advocacy in working together? So Mark, how can we do that? And Maggie.
How can we create opportunities for advocacy? I love the question, to be quite frank with you. And just giving it the first shot right now, to be honest with you. I'm going to give you guys the 5-second answer. How can we create opportunities for advocacy? I think the first step and the most important one is building that bridge of communication. I think here in the Rio Grande Valley, there's a lot of groups who feel the same way as we do. In fact, there's a lot of individuals who are formerly incarcerated who feel the same way. And I think an outreach program or an outreach model that incorporates and uses those individuals who live in the communities to speak with those individuals who live in the very same communities, I think that might create an opportunity to be able to bridge that particular gap for advocacy. And that's what I see my first 5-second response to the question. I'm sorry, Maggie.
Okay, so I love this question because I always create opportunities for everything. So even if they're having some kind of event somewhere that has nothing to do with anything that I'm talking about, I'm going to show up and I'm going to make people know I'm formerly incarcerated, we're in your community, and we're going to show up. And there's one thing that I've learned throughout the legislative session is when I first started going in and talking to these representatives, they were very standoffish and they were looking at me like, you don't know what you're talking about. But the more that I went in there and the more that I told them, I'm formerly incarcerated, so when you think of somebody who's out of prison, I'm one of those people. And then they began to soften their hearts. And then towards the end, I'm walking into their offices and they're like, hey Maggie, what's up? So we need more people like that, going and showing them, hey, I'm here. I live next door to you. I live next door to your daughter, your son. And I'm formerly incarcerated, so you need to think about me too. So that's my 2 cents.
What type of opportunities for advocacy could we create together? I'm putting you on the spot again.
Oh, I don't mind.
Guys.
Well, the thing is that our agenda gets put together before the legislature meets by the 15 dioceses and all the bishops gather in Austin, everyone wants to go to Austin, and takes like a core group of people and then they go over, you have to prioritize, there's so many needs. And so there will be like an immigration area, criminal justice, pro-life, there will be the finance one where we have all these title loans and workplace loans, and then with a huge amount of interest, which is completely legal in this state, I don't understand it. So we're always trying to work on all those areas. What I can do is when we have our next one is, because now I belong to this group, I can share the things that we're working on to see how y'all can piggyback, and work and be up there on the same day. There's nothing that says that you can't be up there on the same day we are, visiting the same people we are. Because we're very organized and we'll have so many people go and see, this congressman, this state legislator, and this state senator, and they all know us and they all expect us. And by the way, here comes another group right behind us with the same agenda. In some cases, we're not always going to have the exact same thing. But I can do that. I feel very confident that that's not illegal. No, we're a 501c3, so we cannot call it lobbying. We call it advocating for our agenda. And you all can do the same thing if you ever form your 501c3 or you have one already. Just remember that. You can't use the word lobby. Okay?
Yes. Would you use the mic over? Yeah. What's that about? What are some opportunities we can create in advocacy if we all work together?
Yeah, well, you said the last part that you said, again, Jose Villarreal, que iba a ser the last part you said, working together. La unión hace la fuerza. Cesar Chavez was real good at organizing. He was like an expert. And I think former President Barack Obama was also a community organizer. And so we need to train ourselves or have some kind of workshops to train community organizers to go in the community and advocate the issues that are at hand. And so, and it's very important to include the offenders that are coming out of prison, whether it's federal, whether it's state, whether it's halfway houses. These persons don't understand or don't know the system, how it works, how to do the resourcing to contact these organizations. And so they're out there to help. And so these are the persons that we need to be the core of maybe a future organization or a support group. And so everything is done through Facebook nowadays, and so we could also spread the word through a webpage to announce to the community that we need more support on this issue. And I'm from the old school, and we always say that the power of the people is in the street, and so we need to get out there and face on.
How much we have to go to Cesar Chavez. Yes, one of the people who trained with Cesar Chavez and United Farm Workers actually helped to develop Obama's organizing strategy, right? So the lineage continues. So organizing training, wonderful. I want to give some of the responses to folks around the room just in imagining how we work together. If we all work together in Texas, all of our voices could be advanced and be heard. We'd have better understanding of issues facing our communities and find solutions together. That we would have families restored, lessons learned from crime, better economy. What's possible if we work together? Policy change, cultural shift, and justice for all. And we could have a vision for support for the formerly incarcerated to be provided with emotional, spiritual, financial, and employment support. Can you imagine the impact that we would have? This would be us working together. So we are nearing time. How are we doing on time there?
We've got 5 minutes.
We have 5 minutes. Good. So I'm gonna have time for one question. So let's imagine impact. Okay. So let's imagine us continuing with our commitments, but us all working together. And so I'm gonna just ask you to imagine. Let's say it's August 1st. Is it the 1st? Tomorrow's the 1st. All right. So it's August 1st, 2023. What's the impact that we are having by working together? Folks on the ground doing incredible work in every community in the state, and all of us working together to mobilize at the state level as well, to have our voices heard all over. So what's the impact we are having 2 years from now? So I want everyone to imagine that. So, just taking that in, want you to write it on your sheet of paper. What's the impact that we've had locally on the state level by us all working together? So I'm going to have Maggie come back up again. Yes. I want you to call us a couple people.
Okay, so, what impact could we have together if we work together?
2023.
2023, I can't remember names, but. Would you like to?
Just yell it out.
Okay, yes, yell it out.
Crime will lessen, better economy, more unity, less stigma, more empowerment. What I meant with crime lessons, make it lessen. I mean, like to, better economy, more unity.
Better economy, more unity. Yes.
It's about the community coming together.
Community coming together.
No matter what race we are.
No matter what.
We know how everything's going on with COVID and the new virus coming out. We got to stick together no matter what.
That's right.
Because I tell you one thing, it's gonna happen bad. It'll get worse where it is good.
That's right.
That's how we're doing it now. We're surviving. Even though jobs are lost, our community is the way it is, they're cutting jobs off, they're hiring people. It's up and down. The level like this, right and left. So how do we get it right? How do we do it? We gotta go level with level. So we gotta fight for what we believe in.
That's
what
right.
we believe in. We believe in ourselves. You want something? Go for it. You need it? Get it. The right way, not the wrong way. When you come go back to jail or prison, no. Get a job. I got my business. I try to do everything. I try to help people out. That's what I do. But our life in life, what do you do with your life? If you want something, what do you shoot in life if you want to shoot? What do you shoot? You gotta shoot what you see. You gotta predict what you predict. You can't shoot it what you want. People ain't gonna get like this. Here you go. They'll give you this. But what? You gotta want what you want. You gotta get it. You gotta go out there and see it. You gotta predict it. No matter what. I'm gonna cut a grass for $40. At least you're making your money. You're doing something. But you gotta see what you want. People see that. You know what? What do you do like that? This guy wants to work. Listen, all right.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. So important. That's the whole point here. Everyone project yourself out 2 years from now, right? Actually see it, right? Because if you can see it, you can name it out loud, you're already creating it in the world.
Can you get it?
Yeah. Who else?
Think about that song, You Can Have It.
What's your vision 2 years from now?
My vision 2 years from now
What's the impact it's going to have?
is 2 years from now, I would love to have people all across Texas that can unite as one. Not just in one community, but in communities all across Texas. I want to infiltrate Texas. That's my vision. So, I'm going to read this one. 2023 impact, driving change at the ballot box, yes. And then through collective organizing. Encouragement, knowing there's opportunities for all. Better opportunities, new policies that benefit, and acceptance from everyone. So these are amazing visions, and I believe that we will infiltrate Texas. There will be a groundswell of people coming to make change. Thank you.
So we're going to transition. Someone mentioned the ballot box and how important that is. But right now, there's a march going from Georgetown, Texas to the Capitol, is that right?
Yes, right. They're actually at the Capitol right now, so we're competing with Willie Nelson and Beto. So.
Yes, well, they're competing with Maggie Luna.
That's right.
Yes, and they can watch this later.
Yes.
So, we mentioned the ballot box, so I want to invite up Jennifer, the amazing Jennifer Toon. I will tell you that Jennifer is a full hero of mine. I read her column while I was in prison, and
she's a brilliant journalist and now a YouTuber. And I'm so glad you're here. So let's talk about
Hi everybody, my name is Jennifer Kuhn. I'm a steering committee member for the SLC. I'm also a mental health peer policy fellow at the Coalition of Texans with Disabilities. You guys, I don't know if you realize this or not, but your voting rights are under attack. You know, this was my first session, and when I started with the Coalition of Texans with Disabilities, I think I was really naive in thinking that the people that were in the positions of power in our state had all of our best interests at heart, and that is not true. I have watched the members of my advocacy team work endlessly, tirelessly to protect the rights of people with disabilities because I'm going to tell you something. They don't want us to vote. They don't want the disability community to vote. They don't want communities of color to vote. And they certainly don't want people who are formerly incarcerated to vote. And so let's talk a little bit about formerly incarcerated individuals' right to vote. Prior to 1997, you had to wait 2 years before you could register. 2 years after your discharge from your sentence. That is not true anymore after September of 1997. As soon as you discharge your sentence, either you did your whole sentence in TCJC or you completed your supervision. As long as you have discharged your sentence, you are eligible to register to vote in the state of Texas. Please do not go register to vote or vote while you are still on supervision. I don't know if any of y'all saw that in the news where our wonderful Attorney General had a gentleman arrested who had voted in supervision to make an example out of him. The gentleman, he didn't know what his rights were. He didn't know the restrictions for his conviction. So, you know, they're making it difficult and frightening to a lot of the things that we're putting into the voting bills was making the penalties harsher for anyone who was helping other people vote. For instance, people with disabilities often need assistance. Instead of it being a misdemeanor, say you didn't dot your I correctly, or maybe you messed up the paperwork. That is not a misdemeanor. That wouldn't be a misdemeanor anymore. It would be a state jail felony. And so what that does, it discourages people from helping other people vote or helping other people get to voting places and polls and stuff. So anyone who is formerly incarcerated, please know that you are allowed to register to vote upon discharge. Doug mentioned a column that I used to write for, some of y'all remember the Echo. I used to write a column called A Woman's Perspective because I always felt like the paper kind of lacked that female voice. But I'm sorry, I was thinking about the Echo and how powerful that was as a writer and a way for connection. And then when we're talking about community, how important that was to keep us bonded and together. And I'll tell you this, when I got out and I talked to Doug for the first time, I was like, what? You remember me from the Echo? He was like, yeah, and just knowing that we had that bond and meeting each one of these people has really helped change my life. And so I just wanted to mention that too. But you are, what I was going to say was that, yes, I was incarcerated for almost 19 years. And my first incarceration, I was 15. So I've never voted in my entire life. I don't even know what that feels like. And so this past May, I discharged my sentence and I got the little paperwork in the mail with the little card you could register. And we will be utilizing our voices, right? Because I think this gentleman mentioned earlier, well, we can talk about policies and bills and legislation. We can get community involvement. We can do all this stuff. And I think me and Maggie kind of learned this hard lesson at the legislature this session. We did a lot of work. But at the end of the day, the lieutenant governor, the governor, if those bills did pass. We have got to change the elected officials in our state, and that starts with our voting. So please exercise your right to vote before it is completely stripped away from us, because we're getting closer to a time where we will be if we do not act. So formerly incarcerated, go register to vote when you discharge. Our voice is desperately needed to overturn what's happening in our state and our country.
And Jennifer is completely right. Everything that is being said about we just don't want an ID, that is completely false. It is baffling that people are actually believing that is the fight. The fight is not about an ID. The fight is about you targeting people who cannot fight for themselves. So we need to stand up and start fighting back. And like Jennifer said, if you're off parole, if you're off probation, you are eligible to vote. Get up and do it. I voted for the first time in my life in the presidential election. And it was amazing, but it wasn't enough. We need more people out there. And you're going into the prisons. Let them know when they get out. There's people out here that are fighting for them, and they can register when they're off paper.
Yeah, I encourage us to vote.
Yes.
The vote, I got out.
Everybody that I come into contact with, I have got to let them know. Do you know? Like Jennifer said, we got a bill all the way past the Senate. It got to the governor's desk and he vetoed it. So it doesn't matter what we're up there doing if he's just gonna sign bills all willy-nilly. So, thank you so much. Thank you. So, this has been really amazing, and I'm so grateful that all of y'all came out to spend 2 hours on a Saturday with us. And thank you so much, Mark, for putting this together.
Okay, we're down to like 3 minutes. Is that correct? Something like that. Yeah, it was 2014 in the summer when it dawned on me. I had, for years before, been dwelling on the question, what's going to happen now? What am I to do now? What am I supposed to do now? And it wasn't until 2014 where certain realizations came to light. And it was then and there where I made that one choice. We spoke earlier about what was that one defining moment, what was that changed. It was that moment, I remember. It was no longer me dwelling on the question of what's going to happen to me now, what's going to happen now. It was now a statement, like something needs to change. Something needs to change. Someone needs to step up, somebody needs to step up. And I feel wholeheartedly that if one person steps up and speaks, there's others with shared experiences. They'll speak as well. If one person among the multitude will stand up, the rest will follow. And in a large way, I guess, in a bigger sense, I feel like that's what we are trying to do here. That there are many others just like us, and we're not alone. And together, who knows how promising our futures can be. Those of you who are tuning in on Facebook, thank you very, very much for tuning in. Those of you who traveled from so far, thank you for coming in, guys. All of you here at attendance, thank you so much. Con mucho gusto. Y'all have a good day.
Thank you.